The Business Journal Roundtable Series is sponsored by iSynergy, Creative Digital Advertising.
So we hear about SEO and optimization, and the small businessman probably has no idea what that really means. And so you could say, okay, you've got to use these keywords or this or that. Doesn't it really take professionals such as yourselves to get involved in SEO? I mean, if you're a small business.
I think it's a lot to do yourself.
Very
it's a lot.
technical, so yeah, it's not really something that.
So you're writing your content for SEO. How does that work?
Yeah, but it's also more, things like meta tags and a lot of things like that are technical aspects of your website. So, and Steve's probably more of an expert on that, but there's so many aspects of it. Basically, you're creating your website in a sense to please Google, because Google has what, 92% or something of searches? Was it?
Just a little market.
Yeah, a little bit of the market. So basically, you're creating your website and the content in there to please Google. So you just got to stay up on what Google wants, and then either you do it or you have some other professional do it. So
Then you're structuring it in a way that hopefully they'll find you by. So what words are they searching? What are your competitors doing is a great place to start as well. Seeing what keywords they're using, what their content is like, and then using that to inform how not only you do the back end actual descriptions and keywords and meta, but also doing how I write my copy, how I structure my copy, where I put those words, how I tag my images to make sure that word is in my image, so when it comes up it says it is whatever it is. Making sure it's in my Google My Business profile, making sure those words are being used on. So, I mean, it can be across the board as much as you can be consistent with that. But then you have to monitor it as well. And if the market changes or if the keywords are changing or you're not doing well, you have to be able to pivot and make those adjustments. So it is
complicated.
A whole nother beast that I think
it doesn't have to be, though. I think you touched about with Google My Business. There's certain components of SEO, like local SEO, where business owners can do that very easy, and they should do that, and they should set it up. They shouldn't necessarily, until they get to an intermediate or expert level of needing help, they can do all that on their own. Like it's Google Business Profile now is what it's called, GBP. But it's their knowledge card when somebody searches their brand or their services to fully fill that out with their name, their description, the forms of payment they take, their hours, and make sure it matches on their website.
And confirm it. That I feel like is the biggest thing we run into is people not claiming their page. They do all the work and then they never do the last step, which is the authorization from Google saying I am who I am. Is
Get the code, put the code.
Get the code, put the code
Could you
in.
elaborate on that? So it's a simple task that businesses do, but I'm guessing a lot in the Mahoning Valley are not doing it.
They don't. And Google literally tells you, do this and we will help you be found. That's what Google's goal is, to help users find what they're looking for. It's not to take their money, but it probably is.
Yeah.
But it's if they build out their profile, and it's called a citation. So they should, even if they don't do social media, they need to create a Facebook page, because that's a citation. The more times your name, address, and phone number show up on the internet consistently, the higher you rank in Google locally. It's like votes. The more citations you have, the more votes you have, the higher you rank. And those are just simple things. You have all that information as a business owner. You have your name, you have your address, you have your phone number, you have a short business description, you have a long business description, your business hours, you have associations you belong to. They can fill all that out real easy. The only thing we do as an agency is we give them a spreadsheet so that way they can't mess it up, and they fill it all out, and then we copy and paste it and put it in the profile for them. That's all we do for local SEO.
Yeah, I want to say that I feel like in the last, I don't know if my colleagues agreed, last 3 or 4 years, I think most business owners now do have a general understanding of SEO, that they need to do it. They may not be expert in execution, so I think there's been progress. So I can't remember last time we talked about that to someone, they just didn't even know what we were talking about or felt it was. So, and then I think it does create an issue when everyone is doing SEO, and at least reasonably competent. I'm struggling to see if you can see the competitive advantage by having great SEO like you used to. In other words, if you were doing it for someone, right, and most of your competitors aren't doing it, yeah, you're going to rise to the top when everyone's doing at least adequate at it. Not everyone could be number 1 or number 2, right? So I'm just saying that I feel like there's a little shift going on. You need to do it, but otherwise you're going to fall behind. I don't know. I think it's more difficult to be a leader when many people are using the same tools. There's lots of tools you mentioned, and younger generations coming up. You might have an older owner, but his son or daughter is involved in the business, and they understand it. So there's definitely been a change, in my view, in the last few years.
And the understanding that they need to continuously do it. If you get to number 1 this week, you're going to be number 3 next week if you turn it off and you stop doing it. Everybody's battling for that top spot.
I think it's always an interesting conversation to have with a new prospective client from our end too, when you discuss SEO with them and the way they perceive themselves. And if you said, well, what would your keywords be? Or what would this be? And from our perspective, we're like, that's not going to go anywhere. That's not how people search things. That's not what people look things up as. So that is why you really need professionals in there to know what that formula is in Google, what those types of words people look for are, because the business owner could be way off.
The Business Journal Roundtable Series is sponsored by iSynergy, creative digital advertising.